What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. We got some more good news here, and it seems to be something that is being reported quite a lot. Not necessarily this story, but the story in general relating to Labour's support collapsing. The Express has got an article headlining "Beast on the Run. Labour's Dennis Skinner facing huge election battle as Red Wall collapses. A shattering of support for Labour in Dennis Skinner's backyard could doom Jeremy Corbyn's dreams of entering number 10. And that is what we need to hear. We need it to also happen, not just hear it. Talk is cheap, remember. The party faces the epic challenge of trying to cling on to some of the most pro-Brexit parts of the country while promising Remainers a second referendum. If this proves mission impossible, Boris Johnson could achieve the incredible and see a swathe of Labour heartland seats turn blue on election night. We could also see them turn light blue for the Brexit party, depending on which constituency we're talking about. Mr Corbyn's chances of forming a government are truly in trouble if Labour is in peril in Bolsover, the political home of 87-year-old left-winger Mr Skinner. His majority crashed from 11,778 in 2015 to 5,288 in 2017. In neighbouring Ashfield, the collapse in support has been even more dramatic. In Bolsover, where more than 7 out of 10 voters backed Leave in 2016, Mr Skinner will hope that his track record as a Labour Eurosceptic will stand him in good stead. There, the Labour majority plummeted from 8,820 to just 441. On the district council, 30 of the 35 councillors are Ashfield independents, and the leader of the group, Jason Zardoni, wants to be the next MP. So it looks like he's in real trouble there with only a 441 vote majority. That's a possibility we could be seeing a swamp drain there. This will stir feels that just as support for Labour has largely vaporised in Scotland, it will also be ousted from the former industrial communities in England and Wales. On election night, strategists will keep a close eye on Wrexham, Labour's most marginal seat in Wales, which is among the first to declare in the UK. We will also be keeping a close eye on that during our election night stream. This ancient market town has elected a Labour MP in every election since 1935. If the Conservatives wrestle it from Labour's hold, this could be the first sign a revolution is afoot. We will be waiting with bated breath for that, anyone who joins the live stream. In Bolsover, where more than 7 out of 10 voters backed Leave in 2016, Mr Skinner will hope that his track record as a Labour Eurosceptic will stand him in good stead. He told us in a statement, "My view on the EU hasn't changed. I was against joining the common market decades ago, and I voted to leave in the referendum. But what I won't do is support a Tory deal that threatens jobs and leaves us all worse off." So in other words, you have changed your mind on the EU because you're now saying you don't want to leave. It doesn't matter if it's a Tory deal. If you was a Leaver, you'd just want to leave. At the end of the day, you're a Labour Party hack. It continues, not all Labour activists who back Brexit have felt able to stay in the party. Lee Anderson was once at the heart of Ashfield's Labour machine as a councillor who worked for the then MP Gloria De Perio. "When I came out as this Brexiteer, the local Labour group just shunned me," he says. "It was like I was a leper." And that doesn't surprise me in the slightest and shouldn't surprise you. We all know what Labour's like when you disagree with them. Today, this 52-year-old former miner is the local Conservative candidate. People have been telling me all week they're going to vote Conservative for the first time, he says during a break in campaigning. They want Brexit done and they see this as their second referendum. I say to them, this is your chance now to give Parliament a good kicking. And guys, make sure you do give Parliament a good kicking at this election. Candidates such as Mr Anderson are talking about more than Brexit. He is scathing about Labour's record on education and crime and livid at what he sees as a takeover of the party by the hard left. It's not a takeover, they've already took it over, mate. It's done. The Labour Party's lost to the hard left now. You're going to have trouble getting all of them out, I can tell you that much. He blames Labour for stripping young people of a vital chance to succeed, saying, "We were always told, work hard, do your 11 plus, and then you go to grammar school, then you won't have to go down to the pit. But the year I was due to take the 11 plus, the Labour Party stopped it. It took opportunity away. There is no sign of nostalgia for his old party. If Clement Attlee were alive now, he'd be in the Conservative Party," he argues. he would not be in this rabble of a Labour Party. Wow, that's a pretty damning indictment on him there. His Brexit Party rival is Martin Daubeny, a former editor of Lads magazine Loaded, who was this year elected as MEP. There's a political promiscuity and a volatility the likes of which I have never seen in my entire life, he says. He argues it would have made sense for the Conservatives to have stood down in Ashfield, just as his party decided not to field candidates against incumbent Tories, but says Boris would rather risk a hung parliament than let the Brexit Party get a beachhead in the Houses of Parliament. The father of two is clear about his mission in the remaining weeks of the campaign. The biggest challenge is going to be turning apathy into hope. The coal miner's son dismisses HS2 as a way of getting Londoners around the country quicker and speaks of his desire to stop top talent being sucked away to London. Yeah, that's partly what HS2's for, but it's also a vanity project. It's completely fucking useless to absolutely everyone in London. No one I know in London is going to benefit from HS2 in any sort of way, shape or form. We've all suffered because it started off being built down here when there was no reason for it to be built here. It's like I've said many times, if the country really needed HS2, then it needed to start up north and make its way down here. We, being in London, are the last place that needs more train stations and more trains coming through from up north. We need more suburban trains, if anything, more underground trains, which is physically impossible, but we definitely don't need HS2 yet. Yes, if you want to create it and start it up north, all great. Build up them areas so that then it can make money up there and help the people up there and then make your way down to London. You don't need to actually start in London. It's ridiculous. It's also going to be one of the most expensive places to start. But I don't agree with him that it's a way of getting Londoners around the country. Londoners don't care about that. And most of the Londoners that are going to bother using HS2, it'd probably be cheaper to fly up north. These days, plane tickets are cheaper than train tickets. You can be a brilliant football player in Nottingham Forest, but you'll get signed by Chelsea, he says. In the end, the best brains in places like Nottinghamshire just end up going to London, and it's the same nationwide. That has to be the most stupid analogy I've ever heard in my life. A brilliant football player playing for Nottingham Forest is going to go anywhere apart from Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are not a Premier League winning side. Chelsea at least have some chance of winning the Premier League. Man United, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. Football players go where the money is and where the glory is. So using that as an analogy is completely stupid. I'm sure there's plenty of other people who come from Nottinghamshire in like the fields of science or whatever who actually have the best brains who you could have made that analogy about, not bloody football players. They are obviously going to go to the best team that they can who pays them the most money, Chelsea being one of them, Man United or Man City being the other. And technically Man City I think pay more money than Chelsea, so if they could easily be signed up by a Manchester club. So that doesn't really make any sense, but I get his point, the analogy was just wrong. Ambition is also at the heart of 34-year-old Conservative candidate Mark Fletcher's vision for Bolsover. His mother died after falling downstairs when he was 17 and he ended up living on his own. That didn't stop him excelling in sixth form and he won a place at Cambridge, where he became president of the Students' Union. A top goal is ensuring that local young people will benefit from a top education. He says irrespective of background, school needs to have high standards. It's particularly important when you're from working class backgrounds to be able to get access to a good school. For me, that is absolutely vital. If he does win a place in Parliament, he would most like to be Transport Secretary or Education Secretary. If there are two things that fundamentally make a difference to people's lives day to day, it's having a good education and being able to get around and be connected, he says. His Brexit Party rival for the Bolsover crown is poetry-loving former police officer Ken Harper, who was enjoying his retirement when the Brexit Party was formed and he jumped into the political arena. He sees Nigel Farage's party not just as a vital force to make Brexit a reality, but also as a tool to unlock the true regeneration of post-industrial communities such as Bolsover. London and the South, they have had all the money all of the time, he says, and that is going to change. We are going to look at massive reinvestment in the north of England. However, local Labour activist Jane Yates says Mr Skinner's support for miners during the strikes of the 1980s will not be forgotten, nor will the bonds he has forged with voters since his election in 1970. Though he may be known in Westminster as the Beast of Bolsover, she describes an MP who visits care homes to sing to elderly residents. Well, a Labour activist is going to say that, ain't they? Let's be honest. They're not going to say he goes into the care homes and abuses the residents, come on. When asked if he has a cuddly side, Miss Yates says, "I've never cuddled him, I've had a hug." Over in Wrexham, the pavement battle is no less intense. Tory candidate Sarah Atherton is adamant that Wrexham is ripe for change. The 52-year-old self-styled passionate Brexiteer was not born to a life of privilege. She left her comprehensive school at the age of 16 and served in the army before working as a nurse and a social worker, and raising a son as a single mother. When asked to name her political hero, she doesn't choose Tory icons Winston Churchill or Margaret Thatcher, but instead says it's got to be Frank Field. Mr Field has represented nearby Birkenhead since 1970, but last year resigned the Labour whip in protest at anti-Semitism and a culture of intolerance, nastiness and intimidation. Miss Atherton praises his good morals and values and argues that in Wrexham it's time to end the Labour lock. Her Brexit Party rival is Ian Berkeley-Hust, a solicitor and father of four, who argues Wrexham remains unwinnable for the Tories. He says there is a realistic chance that 20 Brexit Party MPs will be elected, and he looks forward to forming a powerful bloc in Parliament with the DUP. I think 20 Brexit Party MPs might be a bit optimistic, though I would be very happy if we could see that number. But I have to say that is very optimistic, guys. Extremely optimistic with a first past the post system. We are going to change politics, he says. There are no two ways about that. So I'm excited. It's very much like a religion to me. Ian Lucas, who represented the seat for Labour since 2001, is not standing again. Labour's new candidate is Mary Wimbury, a 50-year-old Oxford Maths graduate who is seen as belonging to the right of the party. She is sceptical about Labour Leave voters backing the Conservatives, saying, "I think a lot of the things that drove the Leave vote were anger at Tory austerity and what's being done to the country. No, it's mass immigration, it's EU laws, it's the European Court of Justice. It's the fishing, it's a number of other things. It's not really austerity. At the end of the day, there was no choice but austerity because, of course, Labour spunked all the money away and put us in endless debt. This is what Labour does best." Describing the Brexit situation as a mess, she argues the least worst option is to hold a new referendum. And that there is what makes you unelectable. She is a prominent member of Progress, once seen as a bastion of New Labour thought, and she makes it clear that she, if she wins the election, will be nobody's puppet in Westminster. "It's my name on the ballot paper," she says. "I'm going to be standing up for Wrexham, and that will be my priority. I've been a party member under a lot of different leaders, and if I think they're wrong, I'll tell them." Professor Roger Owen Scully of Cardiff University, a leading election expert, stressed what is at stake for the Conservatives, saying if the Tories are falling short in Wrexham, it probably means they are falling short in general. The fate of the country could hinge on the decision of voters in a cluster of constituencies that were at the heart of the Industrial Revolution. Britain's biggest parties neglect these men and women at their peril, which is what we have actually seen Labour doing. Not sure that the Conservatives have done it. They seem to be pushing more towards the working man than the Labour Party. It seems that these political parties have flipped on their head. The Tories seem to be much more for the working man now, as where Labour seems to be much more for the London class. Not even the middle class, I would call it the London class. The North London class at that. The types who think their shit don't stink, you know what I mean? But anyway, that was an absolutely epic article in length. I can't believe how long it actually was. But it goes to show that some of the battlegrounds, there are some good chances of getting rid of these Labour MPs. And that will be vital for draining the swamp, guys. Which is why I actually read out that whole boring article for yous. Now, if any of yous are still here and I'm not just talking to myself and everyone switched the video off by now, thank you for sticking around. If it was as boring for you to listen to as it was for me to read, then I truly feel sorry for you. But I'm going to end the video there, thankfully. Before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches. They don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. Parliament is a disgrace, but they're too cowardly to give it a go. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.